4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Gage here with BW Sports One. We got a banger of event coming this Saturday, May 4th, Evansville, Indiana, downtown Evansville at the Old National Events Plaza. I'm joined now by a man and one half of the only heavyweight fight on the card. Brooks, thanks for joining, my man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. First thing I want to ask is, it's been about a year since you stepped in the cage last time. What's been different in your preparation going into this fight than your first one?
I think just from last year to this year, last year I really just started training MMA. January, I trained for about 5 months before my first fight. It was something that I've always wanted to do. I had a big background in wrestling. I wrestled at the number one high school in the country, from 09 to 13 in New Jersey, Blair Academy, which is really well-known wrestling school. And then I was the number one wrestler out of the country, went on to wrestle for the University of Illinois, where I was a 2-time Big Ten place winner, 2-time national qualifier, Division I. So it's something that I've always wanted to do. I just, my coach, Brad Cummings, his son's our heavyweight, and Nate Manis is out of our gym.
Yep.
So it's something that I've wanted to do. Just the difference in, getting my striking down, in my fight against Badu. I just didn't throw enough. I felt like I was doing pretty good. Just working on throwing more and, just being comfortable with my hands.
You said you've been training for how long? Did you say about it? You were training for about 5 months before that first fight, you said?
Yeah, before that first fight, that was my first fight in a cage, and I was doing pretty good. I ended up getting split open. They called it a TKO. I'd kind of dropped my hands and looked at the ref, and I felt him headbutt me. He didn't try it, but I felt I could feel where his head was. I was kind of down low and trying to get my wrestling going. I I didn't get knocked out. I wasn't dizzy at all. I just got split open. I couldn't see. Once my head went down, there's, a ton of blood. And, I was pretty happy, man. For as much as I trained, I got my weight back down. I hadn't competed for, 5 years. So I started training right after. I'm also a wrestling coach for Union County High School. And okay. It was pretty crazy, man. I was at 294 and weighed in at 250. So it felt good just to get back into a training regimen. And our crowd from Union County, the support showed out, man. It was unbelievable. So just, it's something, it's fun to me. This is something, it's getting me back into competing again. And, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you said something about Nate, so that just brings me to my next question. Do you get a lot of work with him at Tag, or is, it's just here and there? I know it's got to be real cool training with a guy that's that high level.
Yeah, man, Nate's there Nate's there a lot, and obviously I'm a lot bigger than Nate, but man, just the knowledge that Nate has, and not only Nate, but, Brad's been with Nate for 12 years or something like that. He's been with Nate the whole time. And man, just, it's such a different atmosphere, because I was at the top in wrestling, when I was competing and stuff, I was doing really well. And to be able to swallow pride and say, hey, you know what? I need help in these positions. And to have a guy like Nate Manis and Brad Cummings in your corner, man, it doesn't get any better than that, And then Brad's got a heavyweight. His name's Miles. That's my main training guy. And Miles is unbelievable on his feet, So they've really been working with me on, just getting comfortable throwing, instead of trying to wrestle the whole time, which is obviously what my opponent's going to know that I do. It's not a secret that I'm good at wrestling. But I think, working this camp on, being able to strike, is something that is so exciting, so where it's kind of a give and take, like Nate is obviously in the UFC, but at the same time, he asked me questions quite a bit on wrestling, different parts of wrestling. So it's, man, it's so fun, man. The Tag MMA is like 15 minutes from my house, man. I run wrestling. I go to school. I teach high school. I leave there this year, myself and another co-head coach, Jarvis Elam, who's from our town. We get done running practice and I go train, and then I get to go home to my wife and daughter and I run, 3 times a week, and just, it's fun to get back into that training and competing and getting yourself psyched up again, like I used to do.
You said that you wrestled at Illinois, you said? And
I wrestled for the University of Illinois.
What years were that? Like, what was your last year collegiate wrestling?
I competed. I was there. I was the starter from 14 to 17.
Okay.
Graduated in 18. Kind of had some injuries in my career. And I moved back home to Pennsylvania, where I'm originally from.
Okay.
Lived there for about 6 months, and I moved down to Union County, Kentucky, in 2019. And then I've been there ever since. I was an assistant coach for 5 years, and this year became a co-head coach of the boys and girls team. So I got a full plate. Just ended up, honestly, the day I fight, I finished my master's. I was supposed to walk the line, but I'd rather get a fight in. So
get in the cage.
Yeah, yes, sir.
What do you know about your opponent, TJ Johnson? And if anything, what's your without giving too much of the strategy, what's your game plan going into this fight?
I mean, I've watched his fights. One thing about that we've said is TJ's not scared to throw. He'll throw. He likes to get in there and bang. So I think just staying smart. Not trying to get too caught up in the without giving too much of my game plan. Just don't get caught up in the standing there and slugging. Because sometimes it just takes one to get caught and it's game over. So just staying smart. But I'm one of those people, man. I never was the most jacked, shredded guy. I've kind of looked the same since I was like 12 years old. Been over 200 pounds, 6'4". I'm so thankful that TJ honestly took the fight, because for the LFA 160, man, Brad would call me, man. There's like 7 or 8 people that backed out. He'd be like, "Hey, we got you one," and then they back out. "Hey, we got you one," they back out. And there was somebody, I guess, told whoever was there that they looked me up on Google and saw my wrestling background and said, "Nah, we don't really want to."
Yeah.
So, like I said, man, I'm just thankful. I know TJ's a gamer. He doesn't care who he fights.
Nope.
So, like I said, man, I've never been one to get too high on, talking smack. And so I'm just thankful that he took the fight, because, I know it takes a while, especially for wrestlers, to get fights.
Yep. Especially early on, because, it's just a stylistic problem for a lot of guys, even later on in guys' careers. So it's definitely something someone's not wanting to deal with their first couple fights. So it makes a lot of sense you had a hard time finding a fight for your debut. But I think that about wraps it up for my questions. If there's anything you want to say right now to your sponsors, your teammates, anybody else, give you a little moment to shout anybody out that you want to before we wrap this up.
Yeah, man, I just all my sponsors, man, it's a lot of the same sponsors that I've had my first fight, and then I picked up some new ones. Just thankful for them, because a lot of them, my parents, my mom and dad own a business back home in Pennsylvania. They've sponsored me for both. My mom's sister, my aunt and uncle, they and my cousin, they own they run a real estate business back home. Just supporting me. Everybody in Union County, man, you'll see Saturday. It's going to be an unbelievable crowd from Union County. And it's just the support that we have from this community. They support it in wrestling and with me fighting, man, it's just, it's unbelievable. I definitely got to give a shout out to my wife. She didn't really know much about wrestling or fighting when we met. She's from a small town in central Kentucky, and man, she's been there every step of the way. Doesn't complain about me training. I don't get home. I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed, get home after training about 7:30. Our daughter goes to bed right pretty much as soon as I get home. So, she's just been awesome through it. And then obviously Tag MMA, man. Miles, that's my man. He's my main training guy. He's been unbelievable. Brad Cummings and my Uncle Robert, he'll be in my corner, man. He's so excited. He doesn't like, he doesn't like to say too much, but man, he's so excited to be in the corner. He didn't get to be in the last one. But man, we're fired up and hopefully me and TJ put on a good show come Saturday.
I'm sure you will. I got one question before we wrap it up. Are you a fan of Johnny Hendricks? Is that the nickname, or is that just completely different something to do with like your background or something?
So, I mean, I know who Johnny is. Everybody knows Johnny Hendricks in the wrestling community, but I'm 6'4". I'm a big dude. I wear a size 15, 16 shoe. At LFA, I think I wore like the 2X gloves. Or I think it's, I got big hands. So in college, I actually was coming into a lift. I had a lift in the morning, and our assistant lifting coach, who was the heavyweight before I got there, I came in some shorts and a tank top with my boots and my camo hat on. And he said, if that ain't a big rig, if I've ever seen one, man. And it's stuck. Our judge executive of our county calls me by Big Rig. My parents call me Rig. Everybody calls me Big Rig or Rig. So it's been since 2015 that, that Big Rig started. And like I said, I mean, most people, that's what they call me.
Yeah, I just assumed maybe you were like a Johnny Hendrix diehard fan or something.
No,
but, yeah.
No, not really.
All right, man. Well, it's been good talking to you. Don't forget, everybody, Southern Indiana Combat 5 returns Evansville, Indiana, May 4th, this Saturday, the Old National Events Plaza. We got a hell of an event. If you can't make it, make sure to purchase that pay-per-view because you do not want to miss this event. Brooks, thanks for joining, my man.
Thanks, Gage. Appreciate it, man.
No problem, man.
SICP 5 Mayhem, Saturday, May 4th, from the Old National Events Plaza, Evansville, Indiana.
SICP, we just hit hard.